Welcome back. One more kind of notable impact to discuss. That's the impact that occurred at Chicxulub in Mexico. So this occurred about 65 million years ago. The crater, one of those hidden ones, it was partially on land, partially underneath the Gulf of Mexico, underneath the water. The crater itself about 93 million miles in diameter and up to about 12 miles deep. Massive. The asteroid is thought to have been almost 30 miles in diameter. Almost 30 miles in diameter. Boom. Hit. Right just off the Yucatan Peninsula in what is now Mexico. So we can see part of kind of a ring structure in Mexico, kind of a trough. And then you also get these cenotes, these little sinkholes that are full of water because of all of this movement that occurred to create a number of things, including sinkholes that would later form. Remember, the impact happened about 65 million years ago. So just like in Virginia with subsidence and earthquakes and all this stuff. So because of this impact in this area, you get these sinkholes on the exterior of this impact site. These sinkholes fill with water and became, in fact, very important water sources for the Mayan civilization that would come millions and millions of years later. In fact, the ancient great Mayan city, might be the capital of Chichen Itza, is right around here. So right next to one of these major cenotes full of water, they use that as their watering source. Right, move me back. Again, so the partially buried crater, that's where it is on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. There's Florida, Texas, Cuba. So this is a very important impact site. Most people know about this, they just don't know the name or the location of it. It's the second largest confirmed impact on Earth, the largest, I believe, being in Africa. Again, it was discovered not that long ago due to oil drilling. So first in 1978, started seeing some weird stuff in these kind of drilling layers that they're pulling up from underneath the water. But it wasn't until 1996 that scientists put together all the evidence and in fact confirmed that, yep, this is an impact site. Not only is it an impact site, it's probably the most well-known, most publicized for that sure. It's the contributing factor to the KT extinction. K stands for the Cretaceous period. T stands for a tertiary period. These are portions of geologic time. So there was a large extinction, and it was due mainly in part to this. There was other things going on, but mainly in part to this impact in which during this extinction, 75% of all plant and animal species on Earth became extinct, including dinosaurs. This is the one that helped to usher out the dinosaurs. That's why most people have heard of this one, right? You probably know that, it was an asteroid impact that killed all the dinosaurs. So it wasn't the only thing. There was a lot of things going on Earth that were bad. This really didn't help. This really kind of sealed the deal. When this impact occurred, it was 900 billion times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. This is a planet killer. This one, again, 75% of all living species just gone. So we can now look at what are known as gravitational anomalies. So just differences in rock layers, and you can actually see kind of an inner ring and beginnings of an outer ring, the yellowish color, and then puts the impact, center of the impact just off the Yucatan Peninsula. So there's a number of different pieces of evidence we can put together. Again, Chichen Itza was right around here. So the colossal shockwave triggered global earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. So kind of some secondary hazards there. If this didn't get you, and the earthquakes or the eruptions might have gotten you. There was an instantaneous die-off of animals up to 5,000 kilometers away, so 3,100 miles away. So all the way up into the U.S., you had animals just instantaneously died in this area. Not only that, you had a bunch of dust and particles that were shot up into the atmosphere that covered the entire surface of the Earth and was in the atmosphere for several years. A bunch of carbon dioxide was produced because when this thing hit, it hit some limestone layers. Limestone, a major molecular component of limestone is carbon dioxide. limestone is made of calcium and carbonates, CO2, CO3. So a lot of that CO2 was released into the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, as that rock was pulverized, and thus CO2 is a greenhouse gas, so that would have suddenly shot up the greenhouse gas effect. So a lot of things going on. Additional evidence of the impact is not only from just oil drilling and these gravitational anomalies in Mexico. There's actually a thin layer of sediment worldwide called the KT boundary, the boundary between the Cretaceous and the Tertiary period. So there's this thin layer of sediment that's found worldwide. And in this layer of sediment, it contains an abnormally high concentration of the element iridium. Iridium is a radioactive element, and it's kind of rare to have on Earth. So in this layer, if you count up all the atoms and molecules, out of 1 billion atoms, 6 of those are iridium. Doesn't sound like a lot, all right? So if you count in the layers, of this KT boundary, this layer of Earth, if you count all the atoms, if out of 1 billion of them, 6 of them are iridium. Not a lot. However, on average in the Earth crust, if you counted 1 billion atoms, only 0.4 are on average are out of 1 billion are iridium. So this layer has 15 times the amount of iridium as the crust does. So something weird's going on there. The reason for it, iridium levels in meteorites and asteroids are 470 parts per billion. So the iridium was spread into the atmosphere when this asteroid was crushed and vaporized and shot up into the atmosphere. And as this material kind of settled all over the Earth, it caused an increased level of iridium in this sediment. This sediment was eventually buried further and further, turning to rock. And we can find this for the most part, as long as there was no plate tectonics to destroy it, we can find this layer worldwide, this iridium layer that represents the KT boundary. Below this layer, in some rocks, we would find dinosaur fossils. Above this layer, no dinosaur fossils. Dinosaurs alive, dinosaurs dead. So we see this layer kind of worldwide. You can see it in a number of different places. So putting everything together, so sequence of events. So a very large asteroid moving at about 19 miles per second. 19 miles per second. So 20 miles gone. That's pretty fast. It hits the Earth just outside of the Yucatan Peninsula, creates a very large crater. Shock waves that just crush, melt rock, vaporize rock. You see shock waves radiating through the Earth. Just damage and death like nothing else. So, and that was right at the impact, right? So just seconds after the impact, just a matter of seconds, ejecta, stuff that was shot out, a blanket begins to form. So all this stuff begins to rain back down to Earth. Some of it just stays up in the atmosphere. Mushroom cloud of dust and debris. Fireball sets off wildfires around the globe. Sulfuric acid enters the atmosphere. Oh my gosh, dust blocking out the sunlight. Tsunamis from impact reach over 300 meters. It's 1,000 feet tall. So we get those mega tsunami events. Nothing good is coming out of this, right? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Months later, still no sunlight. That means no photosynthesis, acid rain falling, food chain is stopped because if there's no sunlight, there's no plants. There's no plants, there's no things that eat the plants. No things that eat the plants, nothing for the meat eaters to eat. So, several months later, the sunlight finally began to return. Acid rain began to stop. Some ferns and some more hardy types of plants began to take foot on some of the burnt landscape. But obviously the impact itself caused massive extinction. But the benefit of it was, so yes, the dinosaurs and 75% of all living things died, but what that actually allowed for was mammals to take foot. Up until this time, mammals were relatively small little organisms. But due to their small nature, they were able to kind of hide and wait this one out. And as things start to return back to normal, dinosaurs aren't around anymore, so mammals became the dominant species. If there was another impact of this size, another mass extinction, humans would, probably be gone, as well as other large mammals. We are a very fragile species. However, again, impacts of this size are very rare. They only occur on this scale about every 40 to 100 million years. So not too much to worry about. But smaller impacts are obviously more probable, but they have their own dangers to contend with. So anyway, the Chicxulub impact site between the Cretaceous and Tertiary periods, forming the KT boundary, full of rich iridium layers around the Earth, that is the one that killed the dinosaurs. But in any case, looking around the U.S., these are some identified, impact craters around the U.S. and Canada. So this is the Barringer crater in Arizona. Here's the Chesapeake Bay crater in Virginia. But there is a number of identified larger impact sites. Again, these are going to be caused by your larger asteroids. And we'll look at some of these in lab. So we'll pause here. When we come back, we'll talk about the additional hazards linked to impacts, which I went over some, but again, a lot of badness. See you back here in just a second.